Well, Steve Levitan, it's now 5 years in a row Modern Family wins Best Comedy Series at the Emmys. Tell me about that walk up the red carpet last year. What was going through your mind? Because that was going to tie the all-time record.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I don't think that we expected to win, frankly, and but it was a lovely, lovely surprise. We're just incredibly honored to be in the company of, first it was some of those shows that had won 3 times, which were just, it's an amazing list, and then to end up tying Frasier is beyond all of our expectations here.
Well, and ironic too, because you and Chris Lloyd both work on Frasier. He worked on it a good while, and you were there for a shorter while. But
Yeah.
to be the ones to tie that particular show, I think that was an interesting twist.
Yeah, it's funny. I called Peter Casey the next day, who was one of the creators of Frasier, and I said, I really hope you don't mind, and he couldn't have been more gracious about it. But yeah, that had a some special meaning, and I think that the fact that this, while we both had worked on Frasier, but neither of us had created that show, of course, this had special meaning for us both, of course.
I talked to Chris Lloyd last year leading into that, and I said, sometimes the Emmys are really smart in something they do. I think Dick Van Dyke presented Frasier one of its comedy series awards, maybe the 4th one or the 5th one, which helped tie it. And I said, of all things, you ought to get Kelsey and David to come in and present that award last year.
Oh, well, I think that the only problem with that would have been, it puts a lot of pressure on us to win. So had we lost,
no. The good thing about that was that would have been great. It would have been like, okay, we're either going to pass the torch or we get to hold on to our record.
Well, that's true. They maybe would have been happier if we lost. But I remember, for me, one of the years Ted Danson presented it, which was really meaningful to me because Cheers was one of my great influences, and one of the shows I admired so much. So that was particularly nice.
Well, if it happens again this year, no drama series, no comedy series has ever won 6. So you move into first place all by yourself.
Well, that's a lovely thought, and I am expecting nothing at this point. I mean, we really are just so ridiculously grateful. I hate to sound boring about that, but I really do feel like our cup has runneth over. So if it happens, it'll be ridiculous and amazing for us. But I certainly have no expectations.
Well, let's talk about this 6th season. I've seen every episode you've ever done, so I wanted to specifically talk about some of the ones from this season. And from what I've heard, I heard way back in the early part of this, the end of the winter, that this Connection Lost episode that you directed and worked on and co-wrote was one of the most challenging things you've ever done on the show.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. It was a story. I mean, the idea for the episode, I sort of came in with just the notion of doing that, an episode like that in the beginning of the season last year. And at first it was, wouldn't it be nice if we could pull this off? And then I sat down with, about half the staff, and we started talking about it. And we came up with this idea, the basic idea for the episode, which was, Claire looking for Haley and not being able to find her. And once we landed on that, it was sort of amazing at how quickly a lot of the beats came to us. And we really, I guess I half expected to fail. That we would give it some time, we give it some thought. We wouldn't be able to come up with anything that we feel like could sustain, that for the whole time. But very fortunately, we stumbled onto a good idea, and the problem was almost that we had too much. And but I was really happy with it, and yeah, we did work very hard on it. I ended up co-writing it with Megan Gans, who did an amazing job. And then, we shot it in an unconventional way. And the post process was just the toughest that any of us had ever done, because we had to really put a lot of things together. So I've never worked that long on a single episode, but I'm very, very proud of it. So.
Well, for those who haven't seen it, it's not Claire roaming around the neighborhood looking for Haley. It's all online, on social media, on the phones. Everybody's in different locations. Nobody's really in this. I mean, some people are in the same room, but basically everybody's scattered out.
Yeah, so the big challenge was how do we keep an entire episode on Claire's computer screen and yet feature everybody in the cast and keep it moving. And so, you know, we knew we had our work cut out for us. And you know, but what we liked about it was it not only was a new way to tell a story, but it gave us some insight and some new ways to tell jokes, that the way that people act online, that they're supposedly involved in a conversation, but they're multitasking, and we're able to see exactly what that is. And I don't know, it was really, it was very fun to work on, because I think every year I look for, you know, as we head into our 7th season, you know, what's going to be exciting about this? Like, there's every episode I'm looking for, what's that scene that I can't wait to shoot, or what's that new, something that just feels new and different. And so this whole episode was that, from the inception of it to the way we shot it. You know, we shot all 3, we had 4 sets going at once, and we were tying it all together as we were shooting it. And then, of course, the post-production process. It was everything was new and different, and it just, everybody who got involved in it, you know, the guys who did post, our, you know, brilliant editor, Tony Orsina, and you know, the post-production people, everybody just got behind this one 100% and really gave it their all. So I think we're all, you know, particularly proud.
Yeah, if people want to click our homepage too today, we just did a podcast with Tony about his editing work on that particular episode.
Yeah, it's amazing. He put in so much work on this and did an incredible job.
And to fast forward a few episodes, you have a concluding episode of the season called American Skyper that has another little bit of an element of social media. And I don't know too many actors in this world that could have brought forward what he did, which was what Ty Burrell did, Skyping into the rest of the family.
Yeah, Ty is just he's just the best. He's amazing, and he can make everything funny, and you know, he brings so much to every scene he does. The tricky part for that episode was that, you know, Ty is very social on set. He loves to, you know, joke around with everybody, and he's always doing bits with the other actors. And for this particular week, we had him isolated in this, you know, hotel room set away from everybody the entire week, and it was killing him. You know, he kept wanting to do bits with everybody over the little robot, and but I thought he did a great job. And you know, it's part of you know one of the, you know, the show is called Modern Family, and one of the things that's modern about it, I guess, is that the way that, you know, where communication has changed in families, and this just seemed like the next logical step.
I would assume, you know, when you get over into July with the nominations and you have to submit 6, that would be 2 of them. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Do you know what the other 4 might be?
I don't know for sure yet. It's always a difficult process around here as we try to figure it out, because, you know, everybody is trying to remember what stories were in each episode. And you typically a couple, 2, 3, or 4 come to mind quickly for everybody, you know, ones that seem to jump out. And then there's a giant debate that goes around, and we try to involve, you know, the whole staff in that conversation, and all the producers, and you know, just to figure out, like, well, you know, this one, you know, 2 of the 3 stories was really good, and the other one was maybe not quite as good as the other ones, and let's remember this one. And so there's lots of debate, and we always second guess ourselves and think we submitted the wrong ones, and so far we've been okay, but
that's worked so far. Well, I hope one of them will be 3 turkeys. That was one of my favorites of the year, in addition to the ones we already talked about. And another, I like that you do different comedy styles over the course of the year, and that was, I guess, going back to kind of like your Las Vegas episode, more of a farce.
Yeah,
and Frasier style.
And you know, the way that we do the show is that, you know, I oversee half the episodes, and Chris Lloyd oversees half the episodes, and both 3 Turkeys and the Las Vegas episodes were 2 of Chris's. So, you know, you get a sense of, you know, that is, you know, one of the types of shows that, you know, he likes to do. And it was, you know, they were both really, really strong.
in our forums, I have been reading the past 2 years, just as just people just speculating and guessing that maybe there's a spinoff in the works at some point. It might be after Modern Family's over, but it might be even while it's going with Haley. You've kind of set her up in the fashion world, and she's not in school, and now she's got potentially a boyfriend. You left a cliffhanger there. Is that a possibility maybe with her?
We're not thinking about that at all right now. I mean, what we're basically just thinking about with Sarah and Highland and the Haley character is that, how can we maximize her incredible talents, to make Modern Family even better and stronger and keep it fresh, as opposed to spinning it off and letting it be its own thing. You never know what could happen in the future. And that's not me being coy by any means. I mean, I think we're, open to all sorts of possibilities in the future, but right now we're just focusing on Haley for this show and looking at where, a character who is suddenly a young adult. I mean, it's the first time we've had a young adult on the show. So, it opens up a new area of stories for us. And it's also a tricky thing, when it's a great time when people change from children to young adults to adults, and the families have to adjust. So it all gives us interesting stuff to play, and now we're just trying to mine that. But, we're so thankful for Sarah because she can do whatever, we give her and make it seem very real and funny. And so we'd love to see more and more from her.
Well, yeah, you've lucked out. I mean, when you cast all of the kids, they were much, much younger, and you had no idea that they were going to blossom into actual really good actors.
Yes, it's it really is incredible because that could have gone, any way.
You're stuck with somebody for years if you're not.
Yeah, and even the transition from when we added Aubrey to the cast as Lily, and how lucky we were to kind of come up with a character that is different and is distinct on her own. And there's always it's tricky with kids because you just you see on TV a lot of generic kids, and we've always tried to give each of these kids a very distinct personality. And it's one of the things that we're talking about now with baby Joe, Jay and Gloria's son. Like what's going to become of Joe? What's he going to be? Because he's kind of going from being, more or less a living prop, let's face it, a kid that you're having to deal with, to suddenly there's going to have to be a personality emerging there. And so that's one of the things we're talking about right now.
You've worked on some very successible shows, and you had a couple that weren't. What could you?
I don't know what you're talking about with those shows that weren't. I have no idea what you mean.
But what could you tell early on with Modern Family where you go, okay, this one is going to click, this one's really going to work, whereas maybe another one didn't?
I think we felt very good about the pilot script. But we had no clue that it would end up being this, and I don't think anybody could ever have those kinds of expectations. But I remember during the pilot, shooting the pilot, I remember thinking to myself, wow, this feels good. This feels really strong. And still, I remember sweating out the testing, when that happened with the network. And I had been out of town, and I called Chris, like, well, how did it go? Because I was so nervous. And so, you can't ever predict like a cast gelling the way this cast did. I mean, when you think about it, we cast 11 actors in that pilot, and for us never to even had one thought of recasting any of them is remarkable. So that's just a testament to that cast, our casting director, and of course just the good luck we had that prevented us from making mistakes that we probably would have otherwise.
I'm reading the Martin Short autobiography right now, which is very funny, but there's a chapter about the associates, and he said, we had everything in the world. We had James L. Brooks, we had his writers, we had, they had a great cast. ABC bought it, 13 episodes sight unseen. He said, and we were off the air after 5 weeks. You just said, you just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so many things have to come together. The last show that Chris and I did together, was Back to You. And, you think about the people that were involved in that show. I mean, Kelsey Grammer, Patricia Heaton, Ty Burrell, Fred Willard, Josh Gad, Chris Lloyd, me, Jimmy Burrows. You're like, well, that probably is going to work, right? And maybe we were on the wrong network. Maybe we got hurt by the writer's strike. Whatever. You can make excuses all day, but for whatever reason, it just didn't jump to that next level. It's just an amazing bit of luck that has to happen for things to just gel, on the top levels.
We had Nathan Lane on last week, and we were talking about he had just one appearance with you this year, but what makes me want to ask about guest stars over the years. One thing I love about your show is you don't seem to bring in guest stars for the name value or the recognition. They seem to really fit, like they're driven by whatever the storyline is and what the character is, and not the other way around.
Yeah, we've never been believers in that. I don't even think it works. I think it's no big deal anymore. I mean, there's a couple people in the world who probably can, make a slight difference in your ratings for that week. But I think we've always thought, Chris and I are in complete agreement on this, that you bring in people that can do the best job for that role, and the ones that you're really excited about. Like, I can't wait to see so-and-so doing this, as opposed to, well, we'll get good ratings with this person. There are better people out there, but we'll get good ratings. So we try to be pretty sparse about it as well, because sometimes, I don't know what the difference is. Certain actors in certain roles will just take you out of it. And you'll go, oh, I'm watching so-and-so, as opposed to getting caught in this, just getting lost in the scene. And I don't know, it's just a balancing act. Sometimes it just feels right. Sometimes it doesn't. We have, had some pretty amazing people have inquired, like they'd like to be on the show. And we're like, well, that'd be great. We're fans of yours, but we just got to feel right to us. That right role has to come along. So that's just sort of the way we do it. Plus we've got a lot of actors in our cast. So it's not like a, typical show that's got, 4 or 5 regulars. We've got 11 or 12 right now.
Yeah, you got to make and you're not the type of show where a couple of actors shine on a given week and the other ones kind of take a break. I mean, it's everybody's got, other than maybe the kids might have a break occasionally.
Yeah.
The adult actors pretty much have the same number of lines from week to week.
Yeah, it's pretty nicely spread out, and certainly over the course of a season, it is. So this is just the formula that has sort of worked so far. And, again, occasionally we get really excited about the idea of somebody coming in and doing something. And certain guest actors have been amazing over the years, Nathan Lane and Elizabeth Banks and, Rob Riggle. And, I thought Steve Zahn and Andrea Anders were great this year. And,
nobody could be Ty's father other than Fred Willard.
Yeah, and Fred Willard, of course, who is just, the best. So we love seeing those people. We love having them back, and that's we just look for the people that just for some reason just feel right to us. That's all I can say.
Well, listen, good luck with the Emmys this summer. Potentially going to be setting a record here, and I hope that's rolling through your mind as you get ready for that evening. Not in a bad way, but in a what am I going to say historically here way.
No, it's a very that's very nice of you, but we are certainly not expecting anything, and we're great admirers of some of the other comedies this year, and so we'll be happy either way.
Well, it's a real testament because as I talk to all these drama and comedy people from week to week, television's never been better. So if you're getting awards and acclaim in this kind of climate, it's just amazing.
It's funny because I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I think we've been in the golden age of dramas for a good number of years now. The last 8 to 10 years, I think it's just been incredible. And I think now I'm looking around and going, wow, the comedy landscape is getting really, really strong. So it is an exciting time. I think viewers have never had, better, so many different really funny choices. So it's a great time, and we're flattered to be mentioned among them. We really are.
Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us today, and have a good summer. I know you got a lot of writing to do, but at least
We do. We're
take a
all
little
here.
time.
We're cranking it out, and but we're excited. We're already onto some good things, so we're happy.